And what a great looking race car it is.
It will be the first car on the clock. Will be that of Mini Tyrell. Lap of record is going to be a 15.137 as Tyrell comes down to put a lap on the board. He will be the first official car to come out and take time in qualifying. The next car, yet another throwback scheme. This one normally numbered up as the number 24. But tonight, it is going to be the number 52S. This is Manassas, Virginia's Mason Diaz for Chad Bryant Racing. We touched on early in our program that Diaz is coming off a very strong drive at Caraway to finish second. And this is a throwback to Kirk Leone, who's actually the former owner at Southern National Motorsports Park. And, of course, now the Diaz family taking over the reins of that facility not that long ago. As Diaz's first lap is going to be faster than that of Mini Tyrell. Diaz will clock in at a 14.968 first time through. Second lap for Diaz is going to come across at a 14.949, even quicker. And he will lay claim to the Hedgecock Racing Pole Award for now.
And 3 consecutive throwback paint schemes to start off this single car qualifying as we look out the number 00 Aaron's Dream Machine Ford. Driven by this driver out of Supply, North Carolina. It is Chad McCumbee running a throwback to Ken Butler, who ran in 2005, 2006, and won the championship in both seasons, driving the Aaron's Dream Machine, USAR Hooters Pro Cup, as McCumbee will come to the start-finish line this time and take his first lap of record. And so far, out of 3 cars to go out, it will slot himself into third for now, 15.070. For the 00 of Chad McCumbee, typically in the number 16, but a little bit of a slide off of turn 4. We'll see if McCumbee goes a touch quicker, and indeed he does, but will stay in the second position, rather, 15.054 for Chad McCumbee.
Next car on the racetrack is going to be a throwback scheme that we're actually going to be able to correlate the original number to this driver and race team. Former track champion here at the Hickory Motor Speedway out of Claremont, North Carolina. This is the Nelson Motorsports number 22. This is, of course, Landon Huffman, whose car is done up to pay homage to Jason Sarvis, 2002 Hooters Pro Cup champion. Now, Sarvis was quite the qualifier back in his day. Won 8 poles in just the 19 races he ran in that championship-winning season. Huffman is hoping to try to match that effort, and first lap puts him second fastest. Needs about 81 thousandths of a second to take what has been a very confident Landon Huffman to the top of the charts at his home racetrack. Huffman will come to the line. Second lap is going to be a tick slower. Diaz holds on to the provisional pole for now, with Huffman slotting into second spot.
And that car was very, very fast. Was one of the fastest cars, or indeed was the fastest car in practice earlier on today. The first practice that they ran was that 22 of Landon Huffman. So should be one to look at as we get another draw. Again, many of the throwbacks going out early in single car qualifying tonight here at Hickory, as we see the number 88S. It's typically the number 2, driven by this driver out of Oak Ridge, North Carolina. We say hello to Brandon Pierce, who comes off of turn number 4 and will complete his first lap of record. It clocks in at a 15.157, 15.157 for Brandon Pierce, running a throwback to Shane Huffman, who we got to thank in front of a full impact house at Hooters yesterday. As Brandon Pierce, his second time, will clock in 15.088, so Brandon Pierce goes up to 4th out of 5 cars so far to take a time in qualifying.
Another throwback driver, kind enough to keep the number on the door the same. However, this throwback goes back to a car that was numbered the 15. It was Bill Plemons, the journeyman racer who made 112 Hooters Pro Cup starts in his tenure, and the Wilkesboro, North Carolina native Dylan Wilson and his Two Boroughs Performance Shop team throwing it back to this car and this driver because it was the one that was on the cover of the Hooters Pro Cup video game back in the day that Dylan used to play. Now he's got that beautiful-looking car out here. First time through for Wilson. Will be about 2/10 off the quick time thus far. We hear Parker Kligerman talk about it many a times. Barrier to entry. And how video games could help in that department here. It seemed to work for that of Dylan Wilson. It's one of the reasons why he's always loved the way this car looked. And it doesn't look so bad on his Two Boroughs Performance number 4 car. Unfortunately, though, he slots in 6th of the 6 cars that have taken time with a 15.140 with Mason Diaz still holding down the top spot in the qualifying order.
So that'll move Dylan Wilson back into the pits. Again, 6 of 6 cars that have made their time in single-car qualifying so far. It turns things over to a driver that's not necessarily throwing back to the Hooters Pro Cup days, but instead 2019, this paint scheme went to victory lane at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway with Ross Chastain behind the wheel. Caden even had the melon hat on a little bit earlier today to pay homage to that, as we see the number 45 of Caden Honeycutt out of Aledo, Texas, out onto the racetrack right now. Had many strong runs this season so far, as Honeycutt's first lap will go second fastest, 15.016. Goes Caden Honeycutt on his opening lap. We'll see this time through 3 and 4 if the wheel is still and perfect. Into the checkered flag he comes, and, well, not perfect enough. Second quickest right now for Caden Honeycutt. Again, 15.016 is the time he'll stand on.
Blake McCandless, you are my hero. Next car on the racetrack. Originally intended on running a throwback paint scheme, however, decided to stay with the traditional colors for the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour newcomer. This is going to be his second, make that third Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour start. Driving for RNS Race Cars out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, here is Logan Clark. Logan has been doing a great job running all the laps so far. In fact, finished on the lead lap in both of his Cars Tour races. 15th at Dominion. It was the last car on the lead lap at Caraway. Finished 19th, finishing 9 spots higher than where he started as the youngster tries to learn the series. Here is Clark on his first lap. That'll be a 15.184 for that of Logan Clark. Working his way now through turn number 4 and back down to the start-finish line to complete lap 2, and he'll pick up a few spots in the process, just shy of the top 5. Logan Clark with a 15.134 puts him 6th in the running order as we continue on with Hedgecock Pole Award qualifying.
And an entirely new look on this Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet. This number 42 of Carson Quapple, paying homage to Brian Ross, the 2002 USAR Hooters Pro Cup Series Rookie of the Year, and also took home the Northern Division Championship in that same season. He won 7 races in his time in the Hooters Pro Cup between 2002 and 2006. But Carson has been busy. Ran 12th last week at the Hampton Heat, and we'll see what his first lap is, and it is second fastest, second driver to get down into the 14-second bracket. 14.981, needs 32 one-thousandths of a second to unseat the 52S of Mason Diaz at the top of the charts. And is he going to do it? Not quite. A slight slowdown on lap number 2, so Carson Quapple will not take home the Hedgecock Racing Pole Award tonight.
Here is perhaps the throwback that is going to throw all of us off tonight. This driver is riding a bit of a wave. Just came off of a Hampton Heat victory at his home track at Langley Speedway. He comes into the night second in championship points and throwing it back to Chesapeake, Virginia's Woody Howard, who is a 5-time Cars Tour winner and the 2005 Pro Cup Series Rookie of the Year. This car, the 55S, Brendan Butterbean Queen for Lee Pulliam Performance. As he comes down to complete his first lap, he is just outside the top 5. That'll put Butterbean 6 for the moment. Needs a little bit more than a 10th of a second to be able to jump up ahead of Mason Diaz, the provisional pole sitter. Butterbean hops, skips, jumps his way to the checkered flag, and the second lap is going to be a tick slower. He will remain 6th in the running order. Butterbean has gone all in with his throwback campaign, and there are several throwback shirts available for that camp up here for the fans who are attending tonight's races.
Well, the last time we saw this 09 out on the racetrack, he was in a vicious side-by-side battle with Bryant Barnhill back when we had that last chance race back in April. He was able to make it in, but unfortunately retired early after having some radiator problems back in that race. But good to see him out here for the second time this year. 09 Toyota out of Easley, South Carolina, is driven by Riley Gentry. His father, Randy Gentry, made 35 Pro Cup starts from 2000 to 2007. We'll see what lap number 1 has for this driver. Right now, it's 11th fastest of 11 drivers that have clocked in a time so far, 15.265. And you can see how out of the groove he is, a little bit loose. And unfortunately for Gentry, he is going to pick up but just a thousandth of a second. So Riley Gentry, the 09, 15.264. is his time.
Another driver in the field taking advantage of the throwback weekend, however not to a former Pro Cup car, but this one certainly hits home. This is a throwback to his grandfather, Roddy Boland, who got to run a couple of laps here on the test day this past Wednesday. This was the car which his grandfather drove back in 1989. They did the car up and surprised his grandfather, which nearly brought him to tears in an emotional video you could find out there on social media. This is the rookie of the race from Caraway, Cameron Boland, after what was a spectacular run at that racetrack. First lap, though, for Boland, not what they were looking for so far in qualifying. 13th, make that 12 of the 12 cars that have been out of the racetrack thus far. Career best finish, 8th last time out at the Caraway Speedway. Boland's going to pick up one spot in the running order, up to 11th as he comes to the checkered flag. And what is a very special night for the Boland family.
Indeed it is. And again, one thing here with qualifying is that it has been mostly cloud cover throughout the early practice sessions, and what we had just kind of in this time before now was complete cloud cover here in Newton, North Carolina. That has changed to bright and sunny, and I think you can see many cars sliding as a result as we see Brandon Willard wave the green flag for this driver out of Indian Trail, North Carolina, driving the Miracle Dental Center Chevrolet, the number 32 of Zach Miracle. Has never started outside the top 5 in a Cars Tour race here at Hickory. He's going to have to pick up here on his second lap to keep that stat in check. Right now, 11th fastest for the number 32, 15.244. As, man, you could see him wheeling that car off of turn number 4. Is there some time to be gained? There is, but is still in 11th. So Zach Miracle, 15.163, as this field has slowed down significantly from what we were seeing in practice earlier today.
Here is a driver who we all have eyes on for several reasons. One, this car has had much success back in the Pro Cup days, but this driver caught the attention of the entire Cars Tour pit area in his one and only start in 2023, which came here earlier in the year. He led 39 laps until the power plant came undone, honoring 5-time Pro Cup champion Clay Rogers in his familiar number 44. This is Cade Brown out of Denver, North Carolina, who will certainly be a threat for the pole. First lap, 7th for Brown. First time by. Needs a little bit more than a tenth of a second to put that Matt Piercy Racing entry to the top of the charts. Comes Brown back to the checkered flag, and the second lap is going to do it. Top of the charts for Cade Brown, the hometown driver, at a racetrack that he knows very well, and he puts himself to the top by 31 thousandths of a second. Cade Brown to P1.
Cade Brown, very strong, but he's going to have to dodge this bullet as well. The former track champion 2 times here at the Hickory Motor Speedway in 2012 and 2013. It is the number 12 of Austin McDaniel out of Concord, North Carolina, who was returning to the Cars Tour for his first start since 2019. 11 of his 30 Cars Tour starts have come right here at Hickory Motor Speedway, and we'll see what he can do on his qualifying time. First time, the number 12 is going to indeed go 12th fastest, 15.150. is the first lap for the number 12 of Austin McDaniel. Second lap is not going to be any quicker, so McDaniel, car number 12, will stay in that 12th position. 15 cars so far to make a time, and they're continuing to slow down, but that may not be the case for this driver.
Here comes a car and a driver and a storyline we're certainly going to be keeping our eyes on here tonight. Came to the checkered flag first at Caraway. An infraction found in post-race tech took away the opportunity for this driver in his KHI debut to go to victory lane. Tonight looking for redemption in the Kevin Harvick golf carts, and per your tank lines number 62 is that of former national champion on the NASCAR Weekly Racing Series ranks, Lane Riggs. Riggs is someone who is certainly going to be a contender for the top honors. 6th, first time through the lap, very similar to what Cade Brown laid down on his first lap. Riggs recently announced to have an opportunity in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, looking to grab himself a Cars Tour victory tonight, and he will move up into the top 5. Riggs to 4th, as it continues to be that of Cade Brown atop the charts. Many heavy hitters still to come.
Indeed, as we see this driver working his way off of turn number 2. This number 5 Toyota for Wilson Motorsports. Gear wrench on the hood. This driver out of Cornelius, North Carolina, making his return to the late model stocks here. Has been running with the pro late model ranks this season. It is Brent Cruz will qualify here at Hickory Motor Speedway as we're about halfway through single car qualifying. White flag of the air as Cruz takes his first time in qualifying, and so far it is good for 10th at a 15.091. Again, small pickups would be big here for Brent Cruz. Just a couple hundredths would move him up almost into the top 5. Is he going to be able to do it on his second lap? And indeed the case we've seen many a times here in single car qualifying, not able to improve on his second trip around. So Brent Cruz right now 10th fastest at a 15.091.
It's been a while since we saw the season opening winner at Southern National Motorsports Park. In fact, his last start came at Langley several rounds ago. This, of course, is a former winner here at the Hickory Motor Speedway. In fact, only driver to do so outside the top 10 when it came down to the end of qualifying. 2016 Cars Tour Late Model Stock Champion out of Raleigh, North Carolina for the family-owned team. This is car number 08, Deke McCaskill, back in action at a racetrack that he is surely going to be a contender. First time through for McCaskill on the clock as he came down to the line was 18th of the 18 cars that have taken time so far. He rallied his way from a provisional starting spot here earlier on in the season to finish 5th after starting back in 31st spot, and unfortunately looks like tonight may be similar. Qualifies 16th so far to Zeta McCaskill of the 18 cars that have ran.
Again, he was able to make his way forward, and this driver right here has been fast all weekend long. Both cars that he's been running, the late model stocks and the pro late models that he'll be qualifying in just a little bit later on. This is the number 98 out of Concord, North Carolina, Connor Zilish, making his way off of turn number 2 in a throwback that pays tribute to Josh Wise, who leads the Chevy Junior program. Wanted a way to honor him, and we'll see if he can turn that quick car into a quick time here, and so far it is. You can see him jump up right there on your screen. 5th fastest for Connor Zilish, 15.013. Just needs just shy of a 10th of a second to try and unseat Cade Brown at the top of the charts, but is not going to go faster. But nevertheless, a very solid time there for Connor Zilish. 5th fastest right now for that 16-year-old.
Zilish pretty much the only driver pulling double duty on what is a very, very hot afternoon here at Hickory. That kid's got his work cut out for him, but as you said, Blake, he has been fast in both series that are running tonight. Here's another throwback car that's going to be a little bit tough getting used to. This is the driver who nearly won as he had a moment there coming off turn 4 to start his lap. Nearly won the race back in March, gave the bumper to Carson Quapple as they were coming down to the line, paying homage to Jay Fogelman, who had the second most Pro Cup starts of all time. Of course, his familiar number 4 car now adorning the sides of Connor Hall's machine. And the first time around for that of Connor Hall is not going to be all that impressive. 17th, 2.5 tenths off of the quick time. His teammate currently sits second as Hall looks for a big pickup coming down to the checkers. And he's going to get that up to 9th. Into the top 10 goes that of Connor Hall with a 15.057 in that Jay Fogelman throwback.
And that is saving a qualifying time right there. We have not seen a lot of drivers who are able to go faster on their second lap. I'm sure this one right here will try to do his best on his opening lap. Driving the number 97 out of Lawndale, North Carolina is DJ Knipe, who is quite clearly paying tribute to Dexter Knipe, who made 7 Hooters Pro Cup starts between 1990 and 2000. Of course, Dexter, the 2016 Hickory Track champion. We'll see what the other Knipe can do here on his first lap in single car qualifying. For DJ Knipe right now, he is 21st at a 15.307. 15.307 would right now be the slowest car that we've seen in qualifying. Lap number 2, it is going to be a pickup of 2 spots for DJ Knipe, up to 19th, 15.259 for DJ Knipe, as we have just about 10 or so left, or just shy of that, in single car qualifying.
Pro late models waiting in the wings as they will be up next for single car qualifying. Next up is going to be that of the driver who is 13th in the championship standings, trying to stop the streak of some bad luck and bad finishes. Out of Lexington, North Carolina, and the Bassett Racing 04. This is that of Ronnie Bassett Jr. And this is the kind of racetrack. Remember, he podiumed back at Florence Motor Speedway earlier in the season. Rough, abrasive, forces drivers to be consistent. And how about that on the stopwatch? 4th for Ronnie Bassett Jr. First time through on what could be the opportunity to turn his season around. Bassett trying to go better yet here. Needs about 0.08 of a second to go to pole, and it's not going to happen. But still a very strong qualifying run for Ronnie Bassett Jr., who slides up into the top 5 in 4th position.
We've seen a lot of Hickory track champions that are running in this race, and this one is no different. Driving the number 15 out of Statesville, North Carolina, is Ryan Millington for his family-owned Millington Motorsports. Won the track championship here at Hickory in 2017 and followed that up with another title in 2020 as well. Has also twice taken the Bobby Isaac Memorial here at this racetrack. Ryan Millington receiving the white flag from Brandon Willard. And will that 15 car go fast? Right now he is 15th. 15.134 is the first lap of record for Ryan Millington here. The fans continuing to file into the grandstands. And Millington's second time, he'll pick up 3 spots up to 12th, 15.066. So Millington right now goes 12th. And Eric, this is probably one of the hottest drivers in the Southeast in late model stocks right now.
Unbelievable role that this driver has been on. He is a 3-time winner at this racetrack. On top of the fact, he's a 3-time Cars Tour champion. Out of Madison, North Carolina for R&S Race Cars, this is Bobby McCarty, who, as Blake mentioned, has been on a tear. His only victory came at Dominion, where he led the final 2 laps, but charged up through the field to get a top 5 last time out at Caraway. He is certainly going to be a contender tonight, and the first lap puts him 11th, but it's on par to what Cade Brown ran on his first time through, a 15.062 from McCarty. McCarty trying to get one of those significant pickups on lap 2, and he will get it, but not to the pole. 4th fastest for Bobby McCarty. And we talked about how important qualifying is here at Hickory. He may be rolling off those front few rows looking for his 4th win at this historic racetrack.
This has been another car I've been really looking forward to seeing out on the racetrack. Looks beautiful. This number 41, typically a number 8 on the side of that race car, but this driver out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, and Chase Burrow honoring his team owner in Rusty Skews, who made 14 Pro Cup Series starts. And remember, back at Caraway, put down a blistering lap to take his first Hedgecock Racing pole here in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour, as Chase Burrow's first lap here at Hickory. Will put himself in 16th after that second lap. So big pickup there for Chase Burrow. 15.120 for Chase Burrow, 16th fastest.
We mentioned a couple of cars that are going to be pretty difficult to try to get our hands around as far as who's wheeling them. This is going to be another one. This is the Carroll Speed Shop entry for the Dallas, North Carolina native, Jacob Hefner, not in his familiar number 95. As you can see, there's a 16 on the doors and roof of that car, and they are nodding their heads to Marty Lindley, who is currently crew chiefing for Junior Motorsports, and Sam Mayer out at Road America. This is throwing it back to the old Hooters Air colors, an airline that the organization ran from 2003 to 2006. Hefner clocks in 17th fastest his first time around at a 15.122 for the driver who comes into the night 9th in the championship point standings. Second time by for Hefner will click off. He will move up the scoring pylon, but only by 1 spot. 16th for car 16 and Jacob Hefner.
And again, just a couple of drivers left here in single car qualifying as we see yet another throwback rollout onto the racetrack. This number 92, driven by this driver out of Conway, South Carolina, is Bryant Barnhill, who just missed out at Hickory, falling out of the last chance race the last time we were back here in April. But this throwback paying tribute to Hal Goodson, 9-time winner in Hooters Pro Cup days from 2000 to 2004. And Brian Barnhill's first lap is going to be 25th fastest, 15.259, with, I believe, just Andrew Grady left after this. So off of turn 4, out of the groove, a little bit of a slide there for the number 92, and he is going to slot himself into 24th position. So Brian Barnhill, 24th, Andrew Grady, I believe he may be the last one out in that beautiful Bobby Gill throwback.
Fans are going to have an opportunity to vote on their favorite throwback scheme, and sentimentally, I would put this one atop my list of favorites for several reasons. Of course, as Blake mentioned, this is the historic green number 5, made famous by that of former Pro Cup Series champion Bobby Gill. 4 times he won the championship on the Hooters Pro Cup Tour, and Grady is coming off his first top 10 of the season at Caraway last time out, looking to try to keep the momentum rolling as the series moves into the Hickory Motor Speedway. First lap for Grady, 23rd of the cars that have taken time so far. Grady will slide his car off of turn number 4 to the checkered flag. No surprise, that boot scoot boogie is going to slow down his second lap. And Blake, I believe that will make it official. Familiar paint scheme, familiar number, different driver. Atop the running order here tonight, Cade Brown with a Hedgecock Racing pole award for the late model stocks here at Hickory.
Second time he's been able to do it this season, and how impressive to be able to do that. 2 separate days, 2 completely separate conditions, and I think Andrew Grady probably represented that the best in the type of conditions we see right now. And again, I think as that qualifying session went longer, and the fact that, you know, the sun will set into turn 1 here at Hickory, and typically turns 1 and 2 will eventually fall into some shade. But again, this track was under some significant cloud cover for several hours before qualifying went out, and then the sun kind of moved about 10 or 15 minutes or so before we came out. So interesting to see how that kind of changed that qualifying session. I think the fact that if you got a later draw, typically you want that later draw. Everybody hopes that when they get in line, they pull that late number, but I don't think that's what you wanted here at Hickory today. But there you can see that beautiful throwback that Cade Brown has on his race car, honoring Clay Rogers. He is your Hedgecock Racing Pole Award winner here in single car qualifying. When we come back, the Pro Late Models are up next here at Hickory. Back with you here from the Hickory Motor Speedway in Newton, North Carolina, where we have just wrapped up single car qualifying for the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour late model stocks on this wonderful USAR Pro Cup Throwback 225 weekend, presented by Food Country USA and Long Run Transportation. Blake McCandless, Eric Brennan. But of course, Eric, you made a great point that drivers can vote, or fans, rather. I mean, I guess drivers could too, but yeah, fans. Yeah. And, of course, everybody out here in the grandstands, we encourage you to go and support your favorite Cars Tour paint scheme this weekend by voting for your favorite paint scheme. It opened a couple of days ago. It will conclude at Easter time tomorrow night. Again, the best appearing car contest is presented by 5 Star Bodies. The car that receives the most votes for the best looking paint scheme during USAR Pro Cup Throwback Weekend will earn their team both $500 from our team here at FloRacing, as well as a free body package for their team, courtesy of our friends at 5 Star Bodies. To cast your vote for your favorite Pro Cup paint scheme this weekend, make sure to visit FloRacing.com and see who will take home the prize this weekend. Again, that's FloRacing.com, and voting closes tomorrow at midnight Eastern. And Eric, I can't imagine that's going to be a very easy decision between all of what we have out here. So many great paint schemes to look forward to. And it's not just the late model stocks. You even have several here in the pro late model field as well that are throwing it back. And again, what better way to maybe spend the next couple of minutes is maybe we have just about a minute or so before we get rolling with single car qualifying here in the pro late models to go and cast your vote and see who's going to take it home at the end. I've seen a lot of campaigns by some drivers sharing on social media, on Facebook, ready to get that done.
See several of the fans who have come out to join us here on what has been quite a hot weekend here at the Hickory Motor Speedway. And I'll use the term hot in more sense than just actually it being physically warm here in Hickory, North Carolina. But it's been hot as far as the anticipation of this weekend. There was a party at the local Hooters last night just down the road here in Hickory, North Carolina. That took place with several drivers and teams partaking in the festivities there. Also, there's been several events going on down trackside as well, and several fans that have come out to enjoy in some of the Throwback festivities, as we now shift gears to the Pro Late models, as they will get set to vie for the Male Pole Award here at the Hickory Motor Speedway. And the first driver to hit the racetrack is third in championship standings coming into tonight's race, driving the Alliance Driveway Solutions and Leapfrog Landscaping, number 9 out of Weaverville, North Carolina. This is the ALH Motorsports entry of Ashton Higgins. Higgins, unfortunately, was involved in an early crash the last time out at Wake County Speedway. He's got 69 laps led on the season so far. Does that of Higgins, and his first lap will come across. Check the timing and scoring running order. Higgins 14.937 for Ashton Higgins, his first time by, as he will be the one to set the bar for the qualifying order tonight for the pros, and he will rest on that lap time the first time through at a 14.937 for Ashton Higgins.
It's an interesting call right there. I think you called it correctly that he's going to sit on that opening time. It was a good one. I mean, 14.937. Electing to coast down here to the pit lane is Ashton Higgins. Again, we have 22, perhaps 23 cars, I believe, that are ready to go here in single car qualifying for the Pro Late models.
Haven't seen the next car roll out just yet. There we go. As we wait for the next car and next driver to come out here onto the racetrack. And Blake, it appears as though this is a car, driver, and team, of course, that has been incredibly sporty in every race they've contended. But they got a new wheelman behind the machine. In fact, only going to be, his third start of 2023 driving for this organization?
That is the case. Third start here for this driver out of Porters Lake, Nova Scotia for Wilson Motorsports. Driving the Gear Wrench Toyota, this is the 28 of Cole Butcher. Makes his presence felt out on the racetrack right now. Come around to take the white flag here from Brandon Willard, and the first time for Cole Butcher will put him right at the top of the charts. First of two cars to go out, 14.8881 for Cole Butcher in his first lap. And again, a car that was very strong. You think about 3 months ago, different driver behind the wheel. This 28 car was certainly strong. You can see with the slide off of turn number 4, Cole Butcher not able to improve here on his second go-around, but nevertheless will stand at the top of the charts and set the bar at a 14.881.
Next driver on the racetrack is a competitor who is taking part in some of the Throwback festivities. This is the TH Motorsports team, throwing it back to Ron Young. Team owner Kyle Hood. It was the first ever late model stock that he ever worked on for that of Kyle Hood. And now the Phoenix, New York native of Matt Capera is out on the racetrack trying to see what he has up against the field. What will be his first Cars Tour Pro Late Model race of the season. First lap for Caprera will come across third fastest of the 3 cars that have been out on the racetrack so far. That's a 15.243. For the North Star Real Estate, Victory Fuel, and Michael Waltrip Brewing Company, number 4. As he brings that car down to the checkered flag. Second lap will be a tick faster, but not enough to climb him up the running order. It will be third of 3 with a 15.196 for Matt Caprera.
And next up, making his way out onto the back straightaway off of turn number 2 is this driver out of Nashville, North Carolina. Driving the Batten Ceramic Tile Chevrolet, the number 49 of Jeff Batten will make his first time here in single car qualifying for the Pro Late Models. A third generation driver, made a couple of Pro Late Model starts with this last year. Finished 7th at Caraway and 11th at Hickory in those efforts. Finished 24th here back in April with the Pro Late Models. And Jeff Batten's first time is 4th fastest, 15.274. As Batten, you can see him getting off of turn number 4, nearly touching the outside wall, and gets a little high off of 4. We'll see if that is conducive to an improvement, and indeed it is. 15.221 for Jeff Batten. Goes a little bit faster, but so far fourth of 4 cars that we've seen.
This driver lives just down the road, and he's got some family in town with him to celebrate what was a career night for Kyle Campbell, who came home second at Wake County after starting 10th, clicked off some of the fastest laps in that race. And a Conover, North Carolina driver for the family-owned team for Battle Scars Outdoors and Deep Cove Taxidermy is now on the clock for Marley Pole qualifying, trying to keep the momentum going on what has been a superb effort at this portion of the season. Look at him swatting flies there in the cockpit of that race car. First lap for Campbell will just about match the car number. The 03 is now P3 for the moment, 15.108 for Campbell. And being that this is a home track / hometown race for Kyle, he's got his whole family in attendance with him here tonight, including sister Stacy, who will be pacing around throughout all 100 laps later on tonight. Campbell, second lap, a tick slower. He'll remain third.
This will bring out onto the racetrack a driver who has really started to turn things around here in some of these recent races. You think about Wake County and how strong this number 6 car was able to run there. This is George Phillips out of Newton, North Carolina for Setzer Racing and Development. He was out here running, of course, a couple of weeks ago for the second time. George Phillips' first time across is a 15.036. 15.036 goes George Phillips. You can see him slot into third for now, as these cars are definitely tracking off of turn number 4 a little bit wider than what we saw in the late model stocks. And George Phillips doesn't improve on the charts, but will go faster. 14.950. 14.950 for George Phillips.
Here comes the current Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour Pro Late Model Points leader. Still looking for a first pole of the season, still looking for a first victory of the season, but the consistency of this young driver out of Metamora, Michigan for Anthony Campy Racing has been hard to top. Was fast in practice earlier tonight. The Team Chevy, Wheeler Trucking, Victory Custom Trailers, number 81 of Katie Hedinger, coming down to complete her first time lap, and it will be second fastest. 1/10 of a second is all Hedinger needs to perhaps lay claim to her first Male Pole Award of the season. Hedinger washing wide a little bit there off corner 4, and the second lap is not going to do it. Hedinger outside of row number 1 as things stand right now, 1/100th of a second off of Cole Butcher, who sits on the provisional pole.
And it turns things over to this driver who was very fast in some of the practices that we had yesterday. And you know what? Great to see Nick Loden out here in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour Pro Late Models again. Back at North Wilkesboro, suffered in an accident. Obviously, the car was destroyed. They've spent a lot of time with this team being able to rebuild it. And finally, a couple months later, we are lucky to see this number 43 back on track. And again, it has been fast this weekend. Let's see if that translates here on the charts. Nick Loden's first lap is good for 5th for now, 15.055 for Nick Loden's first lap here in single car qualify. The 18-year-old low off of turn number 4. We'll see if he goes just a tick faster, and he's going to go just a tick slower. So Nick Loden, 15.055 in his first Cars Tour race here in a few months. Good to see him out here.
This driver fresh off his first top 5 of 2023 at Wake County Speedway last time out. Driving the King Freight Lines, number 13 for King Racing out of Nova Scotia, Canada. Here is Austin McDonald coming to the green. McDonald 6th in championship point standings. You have to wonder what could have been if it wasn't for the 3 DNFs he had to endure, including a power steering failure back at Caraway 2 races ago. Chief starter Brandon Willard decked out in the Throwback officials gear, showing the white flag to McDonald, who comes down in the 5th position on his first lap. But a 10.5 plus off of the pole time laid down by Cole Butcher, as McDonald tries to become one of the few to pick it up on his second time by. And as he comes to the checkers, we await the timing and scoring to update. It's still currently showing McDonald in the 5th position. Maybe we'll confirm that once the system is able to refresh on our end. Nevertheless, he can be no worse than 5th position.
out onto the racetrack right now, driving the GDS Glass and Service Partners Chevrolet out of Statesville, North Carolina. This is the 7C of Justin Kreider. Kreider ran the World Series of Asphalt and Clyde Hart Memorial in a super late model at New Smyrna very recently. We'll see what his first lap is here, and indeed he goes up into 5th, so all cars in the top 5 down in the 14-second bracket as of now. 14.988 for Justin Kreider for his first lap around. Boy, you could see how much he's putting into that steering wheel off of turn 4, and unfortunately will go just a hair slower on his second lap around. So Justin Kreider, 5th fastest. So far, 10 cars have made a time. Justin Kreider at a 14.988 would right now be good enough for a top 5.
It may have been a while, but it has certainly been just perfect for this driver, who's our most recent winner on the Pro Late Model side for the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. Typically numbered up as a number 77. Tonight, the number 53. This is a throwback to his father, Joey Jones, who ran several times in 2012 and 2013 in the Pro Cup Tour. This is Fredericksburg, Virginia's Logan Jones on the racetrack, and his first lap will put him up in the top 10. That is ninth fastest for Logan Jones, his first time through. The family-owned race team, who had a blast after celebrating their victory in the last lap pass at Wake County just a little under 1 month ago. Second lap for Logan Jones going to click off a little bit slower than lap 1, and the 53 car will remain ninth. The cars that have been on the racetrack so far for the Pro Late Models here at Hickory.
And indeed for Logan Jones, they had so much fun celebrating that victory that, you know, you get a bull, an actual bull, as a part of the trophy at Wake County. Well, one of the horns on that bull was broken during the celebration. It fell off of the race car, and I asked him earlier, are they going to be able to fix that? And they said, you know what, we're going to try to put it back together. Me personally, I'd probably just leave it the way it is right now. But yes, a very special victory a couple weeks ago for Logan Jones at Wake County Speedway, as we turn things over here to the number 27 of Chris Wright, whose first time will put him in the 6th position, 15.004 for Chris Wright. A solid opening lap there in that number 27 car. Checkered flag out for Chris Wright, and again, like many we've seen so far, not able to go faster on his second lap. So Chris Wright, 6th fastest at a 15.004.
Looked like it was going to be a great points night at Wake County for this driver. Was in contention, in fact, led every lap up until the final one at Wake, until contact with Gio Ruggiero forced him and relegated him to a 7th place finish. Also entertaining the throwback concept of this weekend, throwing it back to Wade Day after he had a huge impact on this Highlands Motorsports team and team owner Wade Lopez. They surprised Wade with the colors of this car. They want nothing more than to see it in victory lane tonight at Hickory. This is Caden Quapple, who clocks in 7th fastest, his first time through. Comes into the night trailing Katie Hedinger in the point standings by just 11 markers, looking for his second pole and second win of the season. Unfortunately, the second pole will not come tonight. Quapple's second lap is faster, but it will put him in 5th for the time being.
So Quapple completes his lap, turns things over to this driver and this team who was thrashing away on this race car just after practice earlier today. Broke a rear axle, was this driver in the number 43. So good job of getting this Megabytes and Vending Surface Chevrolet ready for this driver out of Claremont, North Carolina, just down the road. And Joshua Horniman, who will come around turn number 4 and complete his first lap here in single car qualifying, and his first lap down onto the speed charts for the number 43H. Right now is 14th fastest, 15.307 for Joshua Horniman. Checkered flag out. Second lap is done, and Horniman will pick up, but will stay in 14th for now, 15.252. So about half a tenth or so to pick up on that second lap for Horniman.
Next driver on the racetrack, also tapping into the throwback concept of this weekend. Familiar driver, different car number, different team for the Mooresville, North Carolina native. It's a driver who is debuting with Dwight Huffman Racing in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour Pro Late Models. And the number 37 tonight is that of Brett Suggs. Typically, we would see Suggs behind the wheel of a familiar number 15. Did not race at Wake County Speedway. Last time out was at Caraway, where he came home in 12th. Currently sits 9th in the championship standings. Does that of Brett Suggs, as he's coming down to complete his next lap of competition. Laps continuing to click off here from Male pole qualifying. Suggs will come through at a 15.027 that last time by for Brett Suggs. Unfortunately, he's able to clock into 8. So in the top 10 for that is Suggs as he takes the checkered flag.
One of the other throwbacks we'll see out here, this is the Jeff Agnew Hooters machine that is being piloted by this young driver out of Williamsburg, Virginia. Again, earlier this season became the youngest winner in Cars Tour history at just 12 years of age. Tristan McKee in the number 7 will get down in turns 3 and 4 and make his first lap here in Pro Late Model single car qualifying. First lap for Tristan McKee is 13th fastest, 15.124, 15.124. I mean, we see a lot of great Hooters paint schemes, and no exception right here for Tristan McKee, as it looks like he will stand on his lap in that 13th position, 15.124 for McKee on his second go-around.
First time we've seen this driver in a Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour Pro Late Model since North Wilkesboro Speedway several rounds ago. Out of Mooresville, North Carolina for Walker Motorsports in the number 15B Toyota. This is Luke Baldwin, son of Tommy Baldwin, Daytona 500 winning crew chief. Currently serving an operations role at Rick Ware Racing, and of course fielding race-winning tour-type modified cars, both the NASCAR Wheel Modified Tour and the Southern version, the Smart Modified Tour here in this region. And now Luke, who also has some modified experience, is taking hold of the opportunity to try to shift over to some full-fendered stock cars as he slides his way off the corner and to the checkered flag. Should note to some of the race fans watching along at home, while the timing and scoring ticker over in turn number 1 allows us the chance to see some of the lap times with Baldwin running a 15.0. So many fans have started to pack through this space. I don't know about you, Blake, but I'm starting to have some cell service issues, and it's taking a bit for timing and scoring to catch up for us to validate some of the lap times. So we'll wait until Luke Baldwin's official lap of record times in here, at least on my front. You may have it over there.
Well, let's see if it's better on this end of the booth, and indeed it is. It is a 15.033 for Luke Baldwin in the number 15 as we turn things over to Tyler Church in the 7T out of Concord, North Carolina. And Tyler Church's first lap is a 15.079, 15.079, good for 13th right now in that black number 7 car. And his second lap will indeed put him in front of the other black number 7 car in Tristan McKee. So Tyler Church goes 12th fastest, 15.062, with just, call it 3 cars that will come after this number 25.
I think if we were to handicap the field for the Pro Late Models, this would be the obvious favorite for several reasons. He is one of the only, if not the only, driver running double duty here tonight. This, the Rackley War Racing number 25 from Mooresville, North Carolina's Connor Zilish. He was your pole winner here earlier this year. Got spun from the lead about halfway through the Pro Late Model race. And it does not take him long to go to the top of the charts on lap 1 by a half a tenth of a second, 14.816 for Connor Zilish, who drove all the way back through the field here in March to salvage a podium finish. Zilish putting himself in prime position to lead this field to green, and he's got the pole with just a few cars to go.
Again, just a few drivers that could take down Connor Zilish's time. This is one of them, the number 88, driven by this young man out of Land O'Lakes, Florida, TJ DeCare in the BG Products Chevrolet. Start his qualifying time. Again, just 2 more cars remain after him. Rusty Skews and Charlie Keevan have left to make their time here in single car qualifying. DeCare wrapping the bottom down in turns 3 and 4. A little bit of a bobble off the corner, is going to go 11th fastest with a 15.045. Again, you have to wonder just those little bumps, those little slides, especially coming to that second lap, if that'll affect this second go around. But It doesn't appear to do so too much, as DeCare will improve to a 15.024. So DeCare cracks his way up into the top 10 with just 2 cars remaining.
Next driver on the racetrack for Top Gun Motorsports, although this car is not a throwback, their late model stock that Chase Burrow had on the racetrack earlier for Hedgecock Racing Pole Award qualifying is a throwback to Rusty in his car store days, or I should say his Pro Cup days, when he ran the number 41 for select starts. Now behind the wheel of his familiar race car, this is the number 8 Top Gun Motorsports Pro Late Model out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, is that of Rusty Skews. Last time out at Wake, he unfortunately had a DNF after being involved in a late race crash for that of Rusty Skews. Comes into the night 13th in championship standings, 1 top 10 on the season, looking for a potential second, as Skews sits 21st on the first time by. Second time around for that of Rusty Skews is going to be a tick slower, and he will remain in the 21st position with the 22nd and final car rolling out on the racetrack to take time.
Just one more car for Connor Zilish to dodge, and it'll be this number 55, driven by this 17-year-old out of Hazelwood, Missouri. It is Charlie Keevan, as we just mentioned, who will be the last driver to try and win the Male Pole Award. We'll see if he can do it. As Keevan's warm-up lap, of course, not being officially scored, would have already put him in the 20th position at a 15.238. We'll see what his first official lap is, as he nearly tags and may have tagged the outside wall off of turn number 4. If not, he got awfully close from our vantage point up here in the booth. But it did not seem to slow him down all that much. Number 55 of Charlie Keevan goes 9th fastest on his first lap at a 15.017, and that is the time that he will stand on as he slows down just a little bit on his second lap. So Charlie Keevan goes 9th fastest, and at the end of it all, once again, Eric, we have Connor Zilish, who had one of the fastest cars that we've seen over the course of the last 2 days, and he showed exactly why right there. Gets a couple of high fives and a debrief with the team. But you mentioned it's going to be a busy night for this young man. He's got 225 laps to run here tonight, and he's going to start 100 of them from the best spot in the house.
And if I look back to the video footage that we may have a chance to look at later on tonight as to how the races played out back here in March, boy, I would love for Zilish to have to go to the rear of the field halfway through tonight, because that car is so fast at this racetrack. And he put on quite a show and was right up there in the mix with eventual race winner Mike Hopkins and Brent Cruz also, were the 3 cars bouncing off one another in the final 2 laps. Zilish, though, at least for the start of this race, is going to have clear track ahead of him. But some very fast cars are going to make up the first few rows, with Cole Butcher qualifying in 2nd spot, points leader Katie Hedinger 3rd, Ashton Higgins 4th, George Phillips your top 5, with 2nd place runner in the points Caden Quapple taking you through your first 3 rows.
Back to 7th will be Justin Kreider. Chris Wright will start in the 8th position tonight. As we just mentioned, Charlie Keevan in 9th and TJ DeCare in 10th. Brett Suggs will start 11th with Luke Baldwin in 12th. Austin McDonald, car number 13, will go 13th. Nick Loden, 14th. Tyler Church, 15th. Tristan McKee will start in 16th tonight. Kyle Campbell, 17th. The 53 of Logan Jones, your defending winner from Wake County, will start 18th tonight. Matt Caprera in 19th, and Jeff Batten, 20th. Josh Horniman and Rusty Skews, 21st and 22nd. Respectively, will make up your 22-car Pro Late Model field.
And as we see that beautiful number 4 throwing it back to Jay Fogelman, who had the 2nd most starts all time in the Hooters Pro Cup Series. It's a good time to remind you fans watching along on FloRacing, or those of you who are here in attendance at the Hickory Motor Speedway, that voting is in fact open. FloRacing is hosting the fan vote this year for the best appearing throwback car in tonight's event. Now, the winner receives $500 from FloRacing and a full body package that will be given to the winner courtesy of 5-star race car bodies. Voting is now open. It will continue on into tomorrow. You could vote now by visiting FloRacing.com or head on over to the FloRacing Facebook page. And Blake, there's going to be several front-running options here. Some of these cars bring you right back to when the Pro Cup Series was in its heyday. The drivers and teams have all stepped up in a big way. I'm sure that Jay Fogelman entry of Connor Hall and that number 4 center of your frame is going to be one of the front runners as well, because that certainly brings us all back to that era of racing for these style of cars in that series.
Well, again, you get a great shot there. You have 4 throwbacks on the screen, pro late models, late model stocks that are throwing back to the Pro Cup days. You know,